Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are back on the Hilux. We got a few things to finish up with this truck. One major thing being carb tuning. Now, I've had been struggling with tuning these carbs. They're very tricky, especially because you got two carburetors and you have jetting for each cylinder. So there's 4 main jets, there's 4 idle jets, and it's just kind of tricky. So actually a guy reached out on Instagram, shout out Scrappy Jackalope, that's your username. He's been helping me tune these, or at least get an idea of what we need to do for tuning these carbs. And he sent over a chart that kind of shows what you need for airflow. So apparently you start with air first. Now, these are 40 mil carb. This motor really could use a set of 45s, but I'm not gonna go spend a bunch of money. Plus, we already went through and Cerakoted these and made these all nice and pretty looking. So I'm not gonna go spend $2 grand on another set of carbs. We're gonna work with these. Now, these have a 36 mil main venturi. That chart shows I need about a 35 to 36. So I bought a set of 36 mil. Right here, I got these on eBay. These are actually nice. These are polished up. They're not like they get rough cast like the stock ones are. So those should work pretty good. And then another thing we got is I'm gonna delete the chokes on this. They're kind of prone to leaking and you get a rich condition. And I did notice number 4 always ran a little bit cooler, which means it's probably running a little bit rich. All the fuel screws are identical. I've tried messing with the fuel screw to get it to warm up and it never really warmed up. So I kind of have a suspicion that one of the chokes is leaking. So we're just going to go ahead and eliminate those, block those off. I didn't really notice a difference in cold start anyway. What I usually do is just pump it like 3-4 times and it usually fires up pretty quick. Now these carbs really don't like the cold anyway. If it was like 40 degrees, he's having a tough time starting with or without the choke. So I don't really think they do a whole lot anyway. But either way, what we got to do, rip the carbs off. We're going to obviously jet these things. I also got another set of jets just because I did drill out the 50 F9s that were in there. So I figure we're gonna start fresh with another set of 50 F9s and swap out the venturi, cold start eliminator, block off kit, install it, and we're gonna see what we can do from here. thought, guys. We're definitely running lean. You can see that we're all the way up to like 16 to 1, so definitely running lean with those bigger Venturi. So we're gonna have to go fatten that up a little bit. I'm gonna start with the main jet and jump that up to 135. I think I have a 130 in it now, so we'll try that, and then we might have to bump the idle jet up as well. Well guys, I am running out of ideas on tuning these carburetors. So how these things set up is there's an idle circuit and there's a progression circuit, and then there's your main circuit. So the idle circuit and the progression circuit are on the same, they run off the same idle jet. So basically you have your idle jet, your progression holes, and your fuel mixture, your idle mixture screw is all on the idle circuit. So basically you'll use the screw to adjust your idle, and then obviously the only way to really change your progression is with the idle jet. There's no adjustments on the progression holes. It's just 3 holes right in the barrel, the venturi of the carburetor. So there's no way to adjust that. But I am rich. No matter what I do, I've leaned out my idle jet and I'm still rich right off the bottom. But then right after that, it goes way lean. So I don't know. It needs to go rich, and then it needs to go lean at the same time. I am just gonna go through this thing real quick, pull the valve cover off, check the valves, check timing, check everything else. There's got to be something else going on. So like I said, I'm gonna go through this thing, make sure everything else is in order, and if not, I guess I'm out of ideas. All right guys, as far as tuning goes, I bought a few more sets of jets. I know for a fact my main jets are still lean. When I'm full throttle, I'm still pretty lean at like 14 to 1. I should be about 12, 11 to 12, probably right in there. So I bought bigger main jets, and I think that's really gonna help out with the lean kind of mid-range. I'm not sure when the main jets are active, when they actually kick in, but I know it can affect, I don't know on these cars, but in the past on other carburetors I've worked on, the main jet can actually really affect the mid-range. So I'm hoping that will help it. In the meantime, I ordered up everything I need for my e-brake. So I was missing the entire e-brake system on this truck when I got it. I actually found on eBay a set of rear cables. You can't buy the cables new anymore. So I bought all used cables, and then the whole adjusting assembly, or the little arm lever there. And then I did find a new cable. This is for a 79 to 83, I think, but it looks identical. So I'm hoping that'll work. One thing we got to do is I want to show you guys just how quick and how easy powder coating is. So something little, like I need this little part. I already sandblasted it, but it was all crusty and nasty. It is aluminum, but instead of leaving it raw aluminum, I figured I'm gonna powder coat it. I want to show you guys, we're gonna time it to see. Obviously I already sandblasted it, so that's, you know, maybe 5 minutes, if that, to just clean it up real quick. Total time blasting probably took a minute, but everything's set up. We'll say 5 minutes to blast it, and then powder coating. So oven is warmed up already. Obviously I'm not going to take into time the oven warming up, but what we're going to do is a pre-bake cycle. So pre-bake, we're going to throw this thing in the oven 400 degrees, give it about 10 minutes just to bake off if there's any oils or anything left on the part, and then we'll pull it out, we'll let it cool off. Honestly, the correct 100% correct way is to let it completely cool off. I find with a cheaper powder coating gun setup, it's easier to get the powder to stick when it's warm. You don't want to shoot it when it's like right out of the oven, when it's smoking hot. I let it cool down to like 120, 140 degrees. That just really helps attract the powder with just having the part warm. And it's not going to flow out. It's not going to really hurt any of the appearance issues. It's just going to help the powder stick to it. So we'll spray it out, and then we'll throw it back in the oven at the recommended time for your powder. Most of them are around 12 minutes once the part hits the temperature. So say this is 400 degrees, we're going to wait till the part hits 400 degrees. We'll use this little infrared thermometer here to see when the actual part hits 400 degrees, and then we'll start our 12 minutes. And then After 12 minutes, you pull it out, you let it cool off, it's cured, it's done, it's ready to work. You don't have to wait for, you know, like paint, you don't have to wait for paint to dry. Another really good thing is it doesn't stink up the shop. Yes, it does make a little bit of a powder mess on the floor that you can sweep up, but it doesn't completely stink up the shop. You don't have to wear a respirator all day because it smells like paint. It's really fast, really easy, and honestly, probably a lot better for you than paint. Now, if you guys are interested in getting started, I'll have everything linked down below that I'm using, including the powder, the gun, everything. Now, the powder I use is from Prismatic Powders. They are a sponsor of the channel. Amazing, amazing products. They have so many colors, so many options. Honestly, it's overwhelming looking at all the colors they have. So if you guys want to check out any powders, head over to prismaticpowders.com. So let's get to it. The current time, 10:04. We'll code this thing. When we pull it out, we'll check the time and see how long it takes. All right, guys, we are done. Part is out. It is 10:39. So that was what, 34, 35 minutes or 36 minutes. I don't know, whatever. I'm terrible at math, but it is done around, we'll say about a half hour, 35 minutes. It is done and looking good. Here it is. We just pulled it off, so it's a little bit warm still, but you can hold it. This is actually called a black satin texture, so that's why it looks like it's got a little bit of a texture to it. Kind of a cool color. I haven't used it on a whole lot of things, but I think I might start using it more. I kind of like it. But either way, guys, go find me a paint system that you can go from bare steel, bare aluminum to a finished cured part in under an hour. Let's say under an hour. Now, I'm not gonna compare spray paint. There's probably a spray paint or rattle can out there that's dry within an hour, but it's not even in the same realm of the coating. This stuff is obviously super, super strong, and spray paint is not. And also, cleanup is so easy. You just grab compressed air, blow out the gun real quick, just get all the powder out of the gun, sweep up the floor. I mean, I didn't even sweep at all, and you can see there's barely a dusting of powder on the floor. So like I said, it's super easy, super clean. Either way, go check out prismaticpowders.com. So let's get the truck in here, get on the lift, get these cables out, get this thing back together, and see what we can do about getting this e-brake to work. All right, we got both cables into the axles and we got all this linkage set up. Now, if you remember when I swapped this transmission, this is a 5-speed. The original 4-speed was in here. I swapped it out and I had to kind of cut up this cross member there, and I had to cut this mount off, and this isn't gonna work anymore. This is way too short, so we're gonna have to completely remake the mount. So it's gonna go right about there, and you can see that mount is not even close to the cross member. So we're gonna have to make a new mount, weld it onto the cross member here, and we should be pretty much finished up. We'll have to a little bit move, we just got to move this fuel pump just a little bit. It was mounted here and here, you can see. I think we're just gonna scoot it over a couple inches because that cable goes right through where the middle of that pump was. So let's make a bracket, move that pump, and we should be good for e-brake. Well guys, back to square one. So I set this up basically to where there's no slack in these cables. What I did not realize once I got it all together and tacked in, so you can see that green spring right there, the arm that's attached to is what spreads these pads when you pull the e-brake. I can get in there, you can see that, but it's got so much room between that spring and where it actually hits. So I adjusted that thing all the way in and it still didn't even work. It didn't spread these pads or these shoes at all. So what I think we have to do is actually preload this whole cable, and just to get some of that tension on those springs, and then it'll work. So those mounts are way too long. All right, guys, we are done with this e-brake setup. So you can see there's our new mount there. That turned out sweet. We got this thing all adjusted. It is working great, and we have just enough clearance between that cable there and how we moved that fuel pump. You can see it was bolted there and there. We pretty much just moved it over, what, 2 inches, and I had to notch out the mount a little bit, but we are clearing, and we got an e-brake that works. think this is the best it's ever run, guys. All I did was swap the main jet from a 135 to 145, and then I had my pilot way fattened up. I dropped it back down to, I think, a 45 F9, or no, 50 F9, and this thing runs really good, honestly. I think it's the best it's ever ran. Now, one thing about the backfiring, you can still hear it probably a little bit right there. With a big cam, I guess, and carburetors, I guess, you know, deceleration backfiring is kind of something that you just got to deal with. So I don't know, other than that, we're staying pretty good on AFRs and everything runs pretty good. And another thing, I was talking about it going way rich right off of idle basically. It still goes rich, but it doesn't bog. I think that's kind of normal. But yeah, like I said, it's not bogging anymore. You can still see it goes all the way to 10 right there, just for a split second, but it doesn't bog out. It doesn't really cough and sputter or anything. So I think I'm gonna leave that alone. We are done, guys. The truck is done, good to go. We got the e-brake fixed. Tuning is running a lot better, like I said, especially with after I swapped those Venturis out for a bigger Venturi and bigger main jets. This thing feels like it's got way more power up top, and it didn't really hurt the low end power at all. If anything, it kind of helped that as well. And we got rid of most of the weird little bogs and issues. Like I said, it still barely goes rich right off of idle. I think that's kind of somewhat normal, but if I go any leaner to lean that out, it starts backfiring really bad, and it's just too lean. And then if I go richer to fix that backfire, then that bog comes back, and it's just kind of annoying. I don't know, these carbs, I don't think you can get these carbs to run 100% perfect like, you know, fuel injection would. They're more made for like a race car, you know, racing, wide open throttle all the time. A lot of people just tune them for that and don't even really mess with the idle circuits. But I'm driving this thing on the street, so I had to get it running good. Yeah, I think it's running about as good as I'll ever get it. Well, that being said, guys, we are done with this video, and look what we got there. Next video, we are going to get to work on the LS. We got the thing back from the machine shop finally. They're waiting for the pistons forever. I had him just order up me pistons since he gets a way better price on them. So he got me pistons, rings, bearings, everything ready to go for this motor. So next video, we're going to jump on that. I'm so excited to get this motor back together. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.